Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mastrius Meet the Mentor event with Jerry Salinas. My name is Gloria Chow, and I'm your host for today, and then I'll be navigating Jerry's mentorship group when it launches. If you're not familiar with Mastrius, it's an online platform that connects mentors with artists, providing a non-competitive space for mentorship and community. Mentorship groups are small with between 3 to 8 members where we work under the guidance of the mentor and also with each other, if you like, towards our artistic goals. For more information, please go to the Mastrius website. You can also get to know different mentors in the Mastrius channel on YouTube. And Jerry's group is scheduled to launch on Wednesday, May 22nd at 5 p.m. MDT, so Mountain Daylight Time. And if you're not familiar with Jerry, Jerry Salinas graduated from the American Academy of Art in Chicago with a degree in illustration and fine arts. Working as an illustrator since the mid-1990s for numerous ad agencies, Jerry has also worked to develop his own drawing and painting skills and eventually became a fine art painter. Jerry lives in Phoenix, Arizona, pursuing his passion for oil paintings. He is excited to be painting Western subjects in a contemporary realist style. And he also teaches local classes at the prestigious Scottsdale Artist School. He's represented by Santa Fe Trails Fine Art, located in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Mountain Trails Galleries in Sedona, Arizona. Today, Jerry's going to do a demo where he'll show some techniques, talk about inspiration and reference, and chat about framing, galleries, staying organized, and also about his upcoming mentorship group with Mastrius. So now let's turn over to Jerry. Please take it away.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Okay, so today though I am going to do a demo. I'll just do some eyes. I'll paint some eyes. And if anybody has questions, or Gloria or anybody watching, just let me know and I'll answer them. But I'm gonna flip my screen here. And I'll lower it just a little bit. Oh, we got somebody added here. So I'm just gonna do a pair of eyes. And just to show you really quickly, here's my reference. It's my nephew's girlfriend, so she was graciously enough to pose. And let me grab my brush.
Enjoying the video? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when new Mastrius videos are added.
So one thing, and this is kind of a practice thing, and one thing I tell people is when you practice eyes, don't just do this large eye. I mean, you can see my hand next to it. Yeah, if you're doing 10-foot paintings, yes. You want to practice eyes, even if it's just the eyes, just like you're painting a portrait. So if I do these eyes, I'm going to do them more to the life size. And I'm looking at my model. She has an angle there. This is her keystone. I always go off the keystone. The keystone, you remember the Roman keystone? That's the space between the eyes. It also has the thickness. I am a big fan of just drawing out the shadow shapes. It makes things simple. If you get the shadows, the darks and the shadows, squint down, bring them together, you're going to get everything you need. You could actually get a nice drawing out of that. I mean, there's more to a painting than a drawing, right? But as far as drawing goes, just having the shadow pattern down will show you all the form and it will show you the likeness. Okay, I did put her nose in there. I use that for balance and for measurement, but that for me is enough, especially for the time we have left. Okay, so that's enough. Now, how would I paint if I was just doing this much of the face? What's the best way to go about it? I'm squinting down. And I'm getting my water to get a drink really quickly. So I'm squinting down at my reference. When I squint down in this area, the darkest area is this part of the brow with the shadow. Her eyes, where the eyelashes are, her parts of her iris, as it comes down this way, this side of her brow, And on this side, a little bit of her eyebrow and parts of the eye. Okay. So those are the darkest areas. Now, I usually go by 9 values, and you can see these are all titled. This is kind of an average light. This is a shadow, and these are our midtones here. This is our average midtone. And you'll see I use one of the gray palettes that's this value, but there's a reason for that. Just makes me easier to judge my mixtures. But for this, the shadows, when I look at them with my eyes open, that's the true value level. It's about here more. So like a dark midtone. See how it says dark midtone? It's about right there. She's very fair skinned. I'm thinking of her local color and the overall value. She's very light skinned. So her shadows don't go too dark. Now, if she was a blue, she was a dark blue coat, yeah, the shadows would look darker. So I'm mixing up a value here. And I'm, even if right now our light source is cool with warm shadows. I don't know if you've heard that. Cool with warm shadows or warm light, cool shadows. It's not exactly that simple. Okay, you still have to make those shadows look like they're a warm object. So if the shadows do look like they have some coolness to it, maybe some blue or some green, they still have some warmness to it because they're on a warm object. But you also have to think about what's bouncing into those shadows, because the shadows and the darks will get the reflected light that comes from your light source. That alone is in a class by itself where you can learn everything. All right, so right now, look how dark my shadow looks on her face. And with the reference, it doesn't look that dark. The reason why it looks that dark is I didn't tone the board. I'm using a white board. So this is working with this white. It's actually making that look darker. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry. So Jerry, what's that mixture?
The mixture well, here, I'll do this. I'm just using a simple palette. Will that work better for you guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so I'm just using a simple palette. I'm using titanium white, yellow ochre, cad orange. This is magenta. This is phthalo blue, and this is some cheap burnt sienna by Chardin. I like it because I was letting burnt sienna take over my paintings with some of the other brands I was using, so I went with a cheaper one. And also I use a student grade phthalo blue just so it's not as strong. And if you're new to painting, start with the student grade phthalos if you want to use those. They're just weaker, they're easier to use. All right, so what I mixed was some of this red, this blue, and this brown, and I got this mixture. I actually lined it up again, but I'll go. So it becomes like a dark purple with this brown. You can see it in there. This is a little bit warmer. So this is the area of her shadows. And actually, I can go a little bit lighter. Now, will it stay this light or this dark? Maybe not. Maybe I might change it. But this is a start. Still drawing. And now let's put some average flesh tone down. What is our average flesh tone? She's very pink. And if you look at that value scale I have, and if you take my class, you'll get all these class notes. You'll get the value scale. And you might have seen that in Richard Schmidt's book, but that's actually from my mentor, Ramel de la Torre, who studied many years with Richard Schmidt. So he gave me that. But it's also in the book if you look. Mm-hmm. So this is the average value that I'm using for the flesh tone. Now you might see some lighter areas. Those lighter areas are highlight. Mm-hmm. I want to ignore that for now. Then you might see some area. Go ahead.
Sorry, the average light, would it be value
2?
4?
It's a 2 on my value scale.
Oh, is it a 2?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So here.
Okay.
Squint down. You can see they're pretty close. In my studio, they look pretty close. On the screen, it could be something different. Okay. But here's the highlight. So average light. These are the midtones. This is the shadow. But her shadows, I went about here on her face. Now, she has some other shadows that are on her hair, in her hair area, the deep crevices. Those are probably lighter. Those are closer to an 8, where I'm doing maybe 6.5, 7 here. All right, so you can see I got the angle of her face. I have her eyes. Her eyes are blue. Okay. Now, when I squint down, her eyes are dark. Are they as dark as this value? So I'm comparing this to this. Parts of them are. So I could actually take some of this value and put it here. And then you have the blue-green of her eyes, and it gets lighter. And do you notice my palette is that gray? My palette is a mid-tone gray. So it's this mid-tone right here. Why do I like that? Because all I got to look to see on my reference is if something's this value or that value, anything in between is mostly here. It might get a little darker, it might get a little lighter, but all I have to do is match this value. Now you notice my average light is lighter than the mid-tone, and my shadows are darker than that, but a lot of my work is going to be in this mid-tone value. And yes, once again, it was going to go darker or lighter, and that's called the modeling. But you'll see it around the eyes. And if I'm pretty fast, I'm sure I'll get to the nose. So let's get to the eye. Squint down. See that green? Is it close to the value of this? I think it is.
Okay. We probably can't see the reference. You probably
Yeah, I'm not going to show you the reference just so I could show you it next to it. And you guys could call me and say, oh, you didn't get it too right. You didn't get it correct. So let me play with danger here with fire.
Okay.
Okay, squint down again. This mixture I'm mixing for the sclera are the whites of the eyes. I'm going a little bit darker than average. See it? But it's actually the value of this midtone. I rather go darker with the whites of the eyes than lighter, because then they'll look like they're surprised. Now, the lower part of this white of the eye gets lighter. See, that's 2 values right there. Boom. Okay. So the light is hitting right here, right? And this eyelash and eyelid, upper eyelid, are casting a shadow this way. There's more sclera showing on this side, so this looks lighter than this, okay? But this one has more value change. This one is probably just one value with a little bit temperature change. So what I just said right now is what I think in my mind, okay? That's how I think. And I kind of like to work shape to shape when I'm doing these studies. Sometimes I do that with my finished paintings, but we'll do that with this. I'll go with the pupil, right? There is some more color in her eye. Now I'm using an old round brush here. I'm not changing any values yet. I'm going to go with a blue that's a little darker, mid-tone, not as dark. You can see it's lighter there. It's not as dark as the shadow. So a little here and a little there. Right now, that eye's getting a lot of color into it, and I like that. And now the eye is being hit this way. You can see the highlight. And I'll show you the highlight. Goes there. And across from the highlight, because of the anatomy of the eye will get a little bit lighter right here, opposite the highlight. Not as light as the highlight. That's where you get that glow. I am standing when I paint. I used to sit down for years, but I think health-wise, it's better if I stand. So I started standing again, and it's actually given me a nice boost. Now, I'm just painting the iris. I'm not painting really exactly what's the structure, the exact structure. Now I'm going to start doing that. Now I'm going to start painting over the eye, because I'm going to put the lower lid over some of the eye, and I'm going to put the upper lid over some of the eye. So what is the lower lid? When I look at the lower lid, it does have the average value, and there's a little bit of highlight right there. Now, we can just use that. Now, do you see how I just added white to the average light? Do you see how it's lighter here?
Mhm.
That could be a good highlight value right there. We'll go with that. Now let's mix a halftone. This is our first halftone for the flesh. So let's see, we'll mix these together. I might have used more, you know how they say don't use more than two? I might have used three, but these are kind of the same. These three are kind of the same with the yellow ochre because they're all based on red, yellow, right? This one has a little more blue with the brown. Okay, but squint down. Is this brown, is this dark flesh color the same value as the pellet? No, it looks a little bit light, but I also think it's a little bit warm and it's a little bit too brown. That's not the halftone for her skin tone. I'm testing it out here and I think it could be even cooler. Okay, so let's try this. That's the lower lid area. Now, there's other parts of this lower lid that aren't as dark when I squint down and they actually get colder. So those brush strokes I'm putting down are just a little bit lighter. Okay. Then let's do the dark of the upper lid. Now, this is where her makeup is. Those are her eyelashes. That's the upper lid, but then this area here, that's going towards the tear duct. That warms up. There's not much makeup on that area. Is that mascara they call it?
Eyeliner. Yeah, eyeliner.
Eyeliner, right?
Yeah.
All right, so then this gets pinker. That's the tear duct, gets pinker, but part of it also gets a little lighter. Okay. Now, I was trying to be as accurate as I can, but I also want to make sure I get the shape of her eye. What am I doing here? I'm just mixing some more average flesh tone. Always mix a lot. Softening that edge right there. All right, so then let's go with her top lid. When I squint down, her top lid, the light part, is blue, and it's actually the value of the average light. It stays pretty light. See how we're getting some blue on there? See how we're getting some blue here? And then this area, I'm shaping it with the average light. The average light is like my eraser. I'm cutting into there, okay? And it's making it softer. Now I'm going back to my halftone, and the halftone is here. It's not as light as this. It's not as dark as that. It's somewhere in between. And when I look at it, this halftone, and I can touch it there. You can see it's a little bit darker. That's what I want. I want to be a little bit darker. And if you look at it, it's very close to that mid-tone on the palette. See how I painted over some of the things I painted? This would get lighter again, lighter. So every brushstroke I put down now is to get her likeness in her eye. What does her eye look like? But also layering the paint on like this also gives you soft edges. You want to keep everything soft. If you're trying to get realistic, you want it to be soft. If you're doing a stylized painting like that Native American I had behind me that's very big, the edges could be firmer because it's stylized. There's a style to it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just as I did this coyote at the gallery the other day, do you see how broken the color is? It still reads coyote. It looks realistic, but it's stylized, right? Mm-hmm. The edges are hard, even though this, you know, that's fur because you know a coyote has fur. Okay. But if you want to get realistic, you have to get softer edges. That's more of this. You want to get it softer, especially the ear, because this was an ear demo. Mm-hmm. So edges are very important. All right, so let's go back to this eye. I'm going to change this temperature. I'm going to make it a little greener. Going back to my halftones, I'll move really quickly because I don't know how much time I have. Soften those edges. See this hard edge here? Soften that edge. Let it soften. That's why you put that paint down. Soften that edge. Soften it here. Okay, now there's a dark. That's the top crease of the top lid. I'm getting a new brush out because the one I have there is, oh, it's terrible. So here's the crease of the top lid. You don't want to go too dark. It might look dark in a photo. Never go too dark with this line. Okay, because then it'll just take away attention from the eye. And remember, contrast and values creates a harder edge. So you have to be careful there. We want to keep soft edges. All right. Going back to my midtone, soften this edge, bring this here. You can see I went dark and now I'm going softer. Now I don't have her eyebrow in, but I'll put that in right now pretty soon. I'm going a little bit lighter and a little bit cooler in this area. This area is receiving more light. So I'm going a little bit lighter. You see it's not much lighter, but it looks like it is. Now when I do the eyes and I study them, this is all the eye. This is all the eye. It's not just the football shape. There's more to it. Practice that whole area around it. Practice the brow, the keystone, the nasal region, the upper cheek here, the brow that comes around there, the brow ridge. Soft. I'm softening an edge. Now I'm putting a value in between these two. That's not that dark, not that light, somewhere in between. It's got to go a little lighter. This keystone on a guy. This is the nose. This is the eye. Here's the keystone. See this angle on a guy? It's very strong, so it would be darker. But on a woman, it's softer angle, so it gets lighter. So on her, it's not as dark. Where on me, you'd see a stronger angle. It looks darker. Sometimes I'm doing more of a slight value change, or I could do a temperature change by making it colder. And there I'm doing a little bit of both there. And now I'm just going just the temperature change there. And when I squint down, this gets softer. So mid-tone right there. Okay. Let's put the eyebrow in. I'm squinting down. This goes here. That's the thicker part of the eyebrow. She has a thinner part, and the thinner part goes starting here this way. Okay. Now, does that look like an eye? Yeah, it looks like an eye. It's not the greatest eye, but we'll get it. Now, why would I practice something like this? The reason is I could do several of these in one day, but I want to use a reference. I don't want to just do one eye floating in space. I want to do both eyes. Okay, you got one in light, one in the shadow side, because that's how you would paint on a painting. And it's easy to get eye reference. All you got to do is walk around and take pictures of your friends, family. I mean, there's stuff online too, but it's good to set up the light source yourself. I have really nice lights in my studio. I could show you guys a little later after this, but you want to set up the light source and make it easy. And why easy? Because this is hard enough. Some of these references you may have may be done with a flash or no flash. There's no real directional light source there. You want something with direction, and that shows form, that shows shadow and light. And if you guys are familiar with the Grand Canyon, the best time to see it is in the morning or the evening where the sun is at a certain angle, right? You see all the details. That's what you want with your references. You want good lighting like that. Yes, as you get better, you can paint different light sources, and you will, because you'll get bored with that. But if you're learning, use that simple light. Make it as simple as you can when you're studying. Because I get plenty of students who come to me and say, oh, I want to paint this picture of my grandkids. It's an unpaintable picture, you know? And like right now, a couple of my students went to go see their grandkids. And I said, well, your one assignment, they said, give me an assignment. Your one assignment is to set up your grandkids in good lighting and take good photos, good reference. So when you come back here and want to paint them, you have good reference, because that's everything. The reference is everything. It's not the painting. You'll get the painting. It's harder to get the reference. So I'm just working this eye back and forth, just getting things right. Going a little darker there. Okay, now I'm squinting down and I'm looking at the eyebrow. Let's see, her hair, she's a blonde person. Her hair is kind of goes a little bit olivey, you know, greenish in some areas. And it goes blonder in some areas, like a light blonde and a brown and a ochre color. But it's nice. Going a little lighter here with the highlight, just a little bit. I don't want to go too strong. And now I'm going a half tone right there. And then let's get some of the brighter highlight right here. Now, when you do these studies, pick one thing. Say, okay, I'm going to do 4 sets of eyes today. With this one, what I could pick is, you could pick, let me get good values. With the next one, you pick, let me get good edges. And then the one after that, you can say edges and values. And you could do them in black and white too, if it makes it easier. And then you could say, let me do temperatures and or colors. Let me do the reverse. Let me make her skin cold and her shadows warm. Or let me make her skin green and her shadows red. Push the colors. So you're forced to control your values. Because in the end, it's, for me, the school I'm from, it's all about your values. Get your values right. There's other schools that go about it different ways, but I like the value thing. Like I said, this is hard enough. Hard enough. I feel like I should paint the whole face, but I'll get the nose in too. We get it real quick. Now, eyebrows, soft. Everything's soft. You guys got questions, ask away.
Okay. What brush do you use? Is it synthetic?
This brush I'm using is synthetic Princeton. I think I got it for free, but I like flats, short flats.
Okay.
Okay. It depends. If I'm doing landscapes, I like brushes with longer brushes. You know, I don't like the short flats. I like the long flats. Right?
Because
I could really move the edges around, you know, especially if I'm doing clouds. I could just lose an edge. My gallery paintings are more of the, you know, they go a little bit more contemporary. But when I do get portrait commissions, it depends on what they want. If they want something more traditional, I'll do it. I've done that for years, so. So now, I don't know if it's coming across on the screen, but you can see there's some temperature changes. It's going from a warm flesh to a cool flesh. But I actually think I'm going to go even colder on the side here. And I'm going to keep it the same value. See, I made that cooler without changing the value. That's the money stuff. That's what you want to be able to do. Is not to change those values, to keep those values simple. And I'm going to go a little bit darker here.
So you were cooling it with your magenta?
This right here?
Or the other, previous.
This part? Yes, I used my magenta to cool it a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit. And I'm going to get a little bit more of her likeness. And I'm squinting down at the photo, by the way. I'm simplifying what I see. I don't want to see everything. Okay. I don't want to put everything in this. Say more with less. How's that?
Mhm.
And we're getting an eye, and I will restate my highlight, and I'm actually going to throw a little bit of that blue in there. There we go. Now, when you look at people draw eyes, they have this dark outline around the iris.
Mhm.
Hers is actually blue on that side, and then it does get darker, but it's a dark blue here. I like that better. Starts to make the eye glow. Glow. Oops. Clean your brush after using that Phthalo, right? Even though the student grades, they still have some strength to them.
Okay, so you use the phthalo for like the dark edge you were saying? Was it?
Yes, you know how the eye will have a dark
Yeah.
outline on it?
Yep.
I actually just use blue.
Okay.
I just use some of the blue because her eye has, they're blue, they're brown, they're green. She's got them all over. She's all over with her eye. She's one of those people.
Mhm.
And part of it is her racial makeup. She's very mixed.
Mhm. So
She's a very
hence
mixed
very
person.
colorful.
What was that?
Hence very colorful.
Yes. You know, for me, I'm having all the fun. Sorry, guys. But and there's a little bit of dark right there. Right there. Oh, I don't have red on my palette, so I'm mixing the magenta and the orange. That'll give me some red. And I'm going to go a little bit darker. Just a little bit right there. A little bit more right here. And I want to soften that edge. Now, do you notice I'm doing little areas? Little areas, that's where you can use little brushes.
What brush is this?
This is a synthetic round from Utrecht.
Utrecht 233 or something? Okay.
Yeah, really economical. They're great. I've used them for years, but I go through them. I never wash my brushes. Because I paint all the time, right? And now if I'm not painting, I will wash them if I go on vacation. But I don't use super expensive brushes. I use brushes you can get anywhere. Part of that is I don't want to be stuck not being able to get my brushes because I have to order them from somewhere. But I still order them from somewhere. I still have some brushes I do order, but I just buy enough of them.
So what brushes are those?
That I order?
Yeah, that you like.
Oh, like Rosemary's. You order your Rosemary's.
Oh, yeah.
What's good? What's nice about Rosemary's? They give me some good brushes. They come to Scottsdale and they set up, and they're very generous.
So
the more I work on, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just want to know what kind of rosemary brushes you use. Eclipse or
I use those long ivories, the long ivories. Yeah, I like those. Those are the ones I'll use on my landscapes. And then my students, when Rosemary comes, they give me a ton of brushes. Too many. They're very nice about that stuff. So I could spend hours and hours on just this eye. Depends. And you could do that. If you're studying eyes, do that. Say, okay, today I'm going to spend 5 hours on just one eye and then 5 hours on the other eye. They still have to relate to each other. Okay. A little part of this area here that's catching light, and it seems to always be cold. Do you notice that? I think Asaro calls that the flattest part of the face. That's the guy who created the planes of the head.
Asaro, yeah.
John Asaro.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm squinting down and I'm seeing, am I dark enough on her eyebrows? It could go a little bit. I don't want to go harder. I just want to go darker. Just want to go darker. Okay, never go hard. Eyebrows are always, the hair is soft. Soft. Just tell yourself soft, soft. Just say it over and over and over and over. Delicate with the edges. I'm not heavy-handed. If I sit here and blend this too much, because these colors all have the primaries, what color is it going to make? Gray, right? So you don't want to over blend, or as they call it, licking. You don't want to lick too much because then you're just going to get gray.
Jerry, do you use any type of a medium in your mixture or using straight pigment?
I use straight pigment with maybe a little bit mineral spirits. Now, if the painting was dry, maybe I would use a liquid, most likely a liquid. Or if I'm doing my backgrounds on some of these more contemporary paintings, I may use linseed oil with mineral spirits, or safflower oil with mineral spirits, and sometimes Neil Milgilp. It all depends. It actually all depends on what's there, what's in front of me. I don't want to stick to too many formulas with my paintings. I just want to create the paintings. I mean, and I probably have my formulas, and those are the formulas. I guess the best formulas are the ones you don't think about. A little darker there. Now, she's a young girl, but my advice to you, if you're painting a person with, say, certain age lines in their face, always squint down and reduce them. Paint less than you see. But she doesn't have any. She's like in her 20s, I think, early 30s. So here's the nose. Okay, but do you see that eye? Does that eye have a life to it? Is it glowing? You know, that's what I want to know. That's what I want to feel. This could get darker. The lower lid, always get that dark on the lower lid. It explains a lot of the form. We're going to put some coolness here. Here. Get a little cooler here. Right here where this hair is, where it's thin, gets a little bit cooler. This plane here gets a little bit cooler. All right, so as you can see, I worked on one eye a little more than the other, but I'll jump to the other one now. I hope. Okay, so here's the keystone, flattening it out. Here's the bridge of the nose. Now, she doesn't have a strong bump on her nose, but that bump on your nose, it depends on, it depends on your genetics, right? That bump could be here or lower, but that's where the skull bone ends and your cartilage starts. She doesn't have much of that. It's hard to tell. It's probably about right here because it bulges out just a little bit. Me, I have a very big bump on my nose, so a good bump. So I could tell where my skull stops and my cartilage starts. But one thing she does have is she has a very good nose with cartilage. See the cartilage on her nose? You don't see a bump there, but you see the cartilage on the end of the nose, the ball of the nose. She has a very well defined. So you guys see the eye? There's my eye. All right. So as I'm painting this, I think I'm going to go a little bit lighter with my shadow. I would rather you go darker with your shadows than too light. Okay. As I'm painting this, I'm still looking at this eye. I could see Some things are a little bit too hard here and there, you know. All right, so back to this eye. Let's see, I can mask this all in with just the shadow, even the iris color, the lower lid there. I could make my edges softer here. And then I can bring up the side of the face there. That's the temple there. And we'll go a little darker there. It's not pretty, but we'll blend that together. And I think we'll have enough time for her nose, so we'll stick that in. Okay, that's the drawing right now. All right, what's one thing that I want to do to make my colors cleaner and more accurate in my mixtures? Clean that palette off often. Try not to save anything. That'll teach you to mix things. Oh, I want to save that. I mixed that already. Well, you should be able to figure that out. If anything, just keep a little swatch of it on your palette. But you should be able to figure out everything. So the more you mix on here, because you're painting, the better the painter you will be. The more you mix on here and the more you paint, those are also like doing your color charts, right? That's another version of the color charts some artists do. And I'm into that. It's just painting and mixing on your palette, right? This is how you learn. Color charts are one thing, they're great, but in the end, you really have to sit there and paint. Put that brush to the paints and to the canvas. Her ball starts about right there. This comes up here.
What white are you using, Jerry? Is it titanium or do you use another?
Yeah, that's just titanium white. And the board I'm using is just the cheap canvas board. For these studies, just go cheap. Don't waste money. You're better off just using mileage, getting as much mileage as you can. So when I bring a line across horizontally, my drawing was off. Her iris is right there. And part of it is because this phone is right here in my peripheral. So this would go up. And one exercise I also do that you guys can do is if I do a portrait, I may do part of it in black and white. So I get my values right as an exercise. This was a demo for an online class that I teach on my own that I'm stopping. But I went and I painted it in color, but I did this part in black and white and see how it still matches the values. It's of course it's a different color, but it doesn't look that odd, right? Because the values are the same.
And you painted the color first in that one.
And then I put the black and white in. And of course, you know, traditionally the artists used to do the black and white first with the color. But we've learned a lot since then. So
we can be backwards now.
I'm sorry?
So we can be backwards now.
Sure, you can do whatever you want as long as you get your drawing and your values strong.
Yeah.
So I'm just drawing one thing, like her whites of her eyes. This side of her is in the shadow, right? Everything's darker except for here and here. So even the whites of her eyes get a little darker. They're not as light as the other side. They're much darker. And I'm going to go and paint the iris. Squinting down. If I paint this eye and then I paint this eye and they're both painted wonderfully, but the misalignment is off, I'll wipe one off and repaint it. Don't fall in love with your paintings. If it's wrong, something's wrong. Just because this is well painted and that's well painted, that's not it. They have to be worked together. Okay, so wipe it off and start all over again. Never fall in love with your paintings when you're doing these exercises. You're not going to grow.
So Jerry, why did you say to paint it life size and not bigger? Like,
Oh no, why like bigger? Like because you see like some people online, they'll do these big eyes and put all the details in.
Mhm.
When do you ever paint that? Look at all the
Mhm.
portraits you've done, Gloria. Do you
Mhm.
notice how small the eyes are? So
Mhm.
you want to exercise. You want exercises of. You want to do exercises that are similar to the size that you're always going to paint, right?
Mhm.
Now
Mhm.
I am painting these large heads. I'm doing bigger eyes, but
Mhm.
they're really not that big, you know.
Okay.
I mean, just like a muralist isn't going to sit there and do small little eyes when he's painting eyes that are like 3 feet wide, right? He's got to
Mhm.
do some 3 feet wide eyes to understand what he's doing.
Mhm.
And always start with your darks. See how I started with the darks in this area? Start with your darks in this area. It's always easier. Grabbing a paper towel. Going to my halftone, all I'm mixing is yellow ochre and some mauve and orange. And if you squint down, it's the value of the palette. That's where I usually start my midtones, around that dark or light, depends, because it's a neutral, it's in the middle. It goes either way. This midtone is going everywhere over here. And I use a lot of different brands of white. I use Winsor & Newton. I use Winsor & Newton Winton also for some of the backgrounds because I'm really troweling it on.
Mhm.
Depends. And some of the brands I don't like, they're a little stiff because I like a nice fluid flow to my whites. And
Mhm.
you want a good white because that's what you're mixing with your mixtures. And let's go a little bluer here. We're going grayer. Now I'm going a little bit crazy. I'm going over things, under things, because my drawing was a little bit off. But for me, I'm having fun. Sorry. And we're going to do this. We're going to make her nose blue. We're going to make it bluer. And even the shadow's going to get blue here, even though we're doing eyes. And you'll see that the values, it's all about the values.
Mhm.
And I'm going to paint quicker. How much time do I have, Gloria?
About, yeah, 15 minutes. 10.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
we
go
can
very
go
quick.
for a little bit. Yeah, it's
I'll
okay.
go very quickly here. So let me get this eye in. Here's the darks. I'm going with my average light. I have to go lighter. Right now, I'm not even thinking about color. I'm thinking about temperature, but I'm not thinking about the color as much. I can throw some of this in here. Let's throw that in there. Let's go really quick. I'm squinting down. That kind of gets it to that area. Now I'm going with the mid-tone. And try that as an exercise. Don't care about the colors. Just care about the values and your paintings will be better for it. That'll be the big improvement. Once those start looking good, that's the real improvement in your paint. That's when you're getting more creative. Do you see how hard my edges are here? That's a big no.
Mm.
Let that softly go away. Notice this dark here, how dark it got. That's the darkest area. Let's put a little value in for her hair. Okay, now I'm gonna go a little warmer on my mid-tone and a little grayer. And I'm using some, that's very orangey. I'm using a little bit of a blue mixture here to gray it down. And what it is this dark here gets a little warmer. Then it comes this way. Then the eyebrow goes a little darker. Now let's do this eyebrow. Soft, lighter here. Let's go darker. There. All right, I'm gonna grab my other brush. Finish this eye really quickly. So this is the wide of the eye. I have to go darker because it's, when I squint down, it's closer to the mid-tone, the value of the palette.
Now, since you're doing a study, you really worked on taking that one eye to quite a far completion.
Yeah.
But when you are painting an actual portrait, do you work like that, or do you kind of keep everything at equal pace?
Truthfully, when I do a finished painting, I kind of do this. I just go for it, you know.
Yeah.
And the reason why, it's just more fun. I mean, I do work, I have mechanical ways I do teach, you know, and you have to do that because you have to kind of learn those. It's kind of like part of the basics. Do the mechanical, and then you'll be able to do more creative type stuff, right? Where I will mix values of colors and put those in the spots that they go in. And how do I pick those? Pick those is I look at my photo reference and say, okay, this is a 7, this is a 7.5. This is a 2. This dark right here is a 5. Then it becomes a 5.6. I break it down to that. And that's another way of learning your values. Probably the strongest way.
Mm-hmm. So you'll be breaking down things like that in your mentorship group, right?
Yes. And the things I'm breaking down are just shapes. I don't see an eye. All I see are shapes that make an eye.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I see. Okay, so I made this nice and dark, but in the end, now I'm repainting again. I can go a little darker in there. And then we got the lower lid here. This comes out this way. Okay, I'm standing back. I mean, this eye is nice. It has a certain life to it. But you want to refine it. I'm holding my brush very lightly because I am just moving the paint between the edges. I'm still blending a little bit. Just a little bit. Even here. On that edge where the dark meets the light, I'm just putting a little bit value. Okay. This here, but I'm going to go a little bit darker here. Oh, a little bit darker. This gets a little bit lighter this way. Now I do start paintings several different ways. Sometimes I just start, I should do shape to shape, and I just start with the pupil, and then I work my way out.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets boring. You feel like a printer, but you'll see some of these people who do very realistic paintings. That's how they do them.
Mm-hmm.
They just start with that area and they work in. They work one from one shade to the other, and usually it's the darkest area first, or a dark. And when you work shape to shape, one area has to touch another. You can't work here and then there. It has to be one shape next to another. So you can compare those shapes. Now there's a lot I'm leaving out. I can't tell you guys everything with these. There's a lot I'm leaving out, but
Yeah, because
there's enough here to help you study eyes.
Okay. Yeah, it looks really good.
But this is as far as you should go with your studies. You should tell yourself, what was my goal for this study? Okay, it was edge work. Then you're done. If you got good edges and you set everything, then move on. Okay. And then maybe your fourth eyes of the day are like, okay, let me put it all together. Let me do it. Drawing value, edges, and colors. Let me be a little stronger with that. Let me get all those right. So you get more of a finished look to it. For me, I'm just having fun. This is so much fun for me.
Yeah.
Now to soften this, I'm just going to put another value a little lighter than that. That's all I did. The same thing with this edge. I'm just going to put another value. I'm not even blending that. I'm just putting another value, another value, another value, another value. Here's another value right there. And then I'm going to go a little lighter right there. And I can soften that edge. What was that, Gloria? Did you have a question?
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, originally you put that really high chroma blue on the nose. I mean, how much is that would be left, in the finished painting? Like you
could, if I'm just doing this as an exercise, I could go even bluer. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go a little lighter here. Now, okay, let's go to a quick lesson for the nose. You know what? Let me get this done real quick because this is an eye demo.
Okay.
I'm all over the place. Sorry. When I'm painting, I want to have fun. If this isn't fun, then something's wrong. If I'm not making it fun for you guys, then I'm not doing something wrong. If it becomes tedious, it's just like, that's not painting. There's got to be some fun to it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this nose really quickly. So this is the front, this is the shadow side. Her nostril, you could see her nostril clearly, right? On that side. But we still don't want to just put a nostril there. We want to go a little bit darker than what's there. These are the lower planes. The lower planes. Just make it a little bit darker. So see how you could see a nose there without seeing the nostril? The lower planes? Right here. You want to go a little bit, just a little bit darker. I might be a little bit too cold, so let me warm it up. Okay. And then she has these different planes that are different, that are going different ways. Let's bring down this blue this way. This is the cast shadow. Form shadows on the lower part of the nose. Okay, let's put her nostrils in. Oh, saw one thing. Okay. I try to step back a lot. Right now, I just quickly step back. When I step back, I see mistakes. When I'm in my classroom, my students say, how do you see our mistakes so easily? I go, because I'm coming from behind you. I'm coming from farther back, so I've stepped back for you, and I see the mistakes, which means you just have to step back. If you step back, you're going to see those mistakes. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yep.
You've heard that before?
Yep. I always see a lot of mistakes in my painting.
Okay. See that, but do it. You got even I'm, believe me, I had my stubborn period. Now I'm going to do the nostrils. You can make them blue if it's a stylized painting, but if it's realistic, these darks have to be warm. Warm. Make them warm.
Is it always warm?
Yes.
Okay,
If Richard Schmidt, I go by Richard Schmidt. If he said it's warm, I'm going with the warm. The only time he says it's cold is on an iceberg or something. And I'll go with him. I'll go with him over everybody. I don't care.
Yeah, is it because it's like a human? Like because
well, here's why with the nostrils. The light's
Mhm.
coming through the skin and because the skin's kind of translucent, it's going
Mm.
through the skin and warming up that nasal cavity. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of blood vessels there, right? So
Mhm.
you're seeing this area being warm. It's not black. The only reason why you might think it's black is because you're used to looking at photos.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why you might think, oh, it's black because of the photos. But if you paint from life enough, and I recommend everybody doing that, you'll start to see those little details that you miss in a photo.
Mhm. Does it apply to landscapes too? Like, I mean, aside from.
Yeah, it does, and I think it does. Landscapes are a different animal. Like with the face, if you have warm colors, they come forward, and then the cool colors stay on the side
Mhm.
planes, go back. But in a landscape, that doesn't work all the time. That's different,
Mhm.
right? So it all depends. Number one thing when you're studying from life, paint just what's there. Do not paint out of your head. Paint what's there. Don't, oh, I like this better. No. If you're painting from life as an exercise, just paint what's there. Don't fight Mother Nature. Okay. Yes, you could improve on her by moving a tree or, but when it comes to the light and the temperatures and the colors, just go with what's there. And then later on, as you get better, you could start to play with things. You could start to play God or
Mhm.
Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it. So see, I'm doing some side planes of the nose. I'm going a little bit cooler here. I'm going to soften it here. Oh, that was too soft. I'm going to go a little bit darker right here on my lights. Okay, that's the shadow side. That's the light side. I want to keep those separate. I want to keep them separate. And then let's do quick highlights. Now, even the highlights are just blah, blah. They could be a couple of values. Really observe what those highlights are doing. And part of you learning that is working from life. Now, say you don't get a lot of time to paint from life. Well, if you're sitting there with some friends, study them. What are those highlights doing? Notice that those highlights maybe have more than one temperature, one color, right?
Mhm.
Do what you can. Get it where you can. I was walking down the street and I saw this guy in a white t-shirt. His t-shirt was glowing because his folds that were facing up in the shadows, because his back was in shadow, were blue, and his folds facing down were warm because the ground was warm. Because that's how light works, including on the figure here. And it was just beautiful. It was like, God, all that color. And I wasn't painting, but I noticed that, and now that's going to help me with any painting I do with a night white object on a sunny day like that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. We're on the hour, even though we want to watch you paint everything.
Yeah, I'm going to do the nose and then we're done. So here, I did put a blob down, but this is a softer edge highlight. See, I'm playing with the edge,
Mhm.
and then it gets lighter here.
So that is it a cooler white or is
Yes,
it?
I went cooler because it's kind of a reflection of the light source, but it also depends on what the skin's doing. Some of it, even though they might say, well, your highlight should be a reflection of the light source, cool light source, so a cool highlight. But that's what I'm saying. Observe, really look to see when you're working from life what it's doing. File that away so when you're working from photos, then you can get creative. Because just having a one color highlight is kind of boring.
Yeah.
And
So
part of go ahead.
oh, no, that highlight on nose that it still is from a warm base, right? Like it's cooler than the flesh
What
tone. It's still kind
it
of.
is, it's cooler than the flesh tone. But why is it cooler? Is I'm using white with some a little bit flesh in there,
Mm-hmm.
and that white is already cold. White's a cold
Okay.
color.
Okay. Yeah.
See how strong that is? That's too strong. But let's do that since you brought this up. I want to make the highlight blue.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the bone, so it'll be cooler, right? So I can get away with some coolness there.
Okay.
And then even this highlight right there is colder.
Mm.
Okay. Then there's a little bit of a highlight there. And there's a little bit of a highlight here. And then you see the fold right here of her cheek. This is a little long because I'm looking at the distance from here to here. This is probably higher up. Let's go a little higher up right there. This gets softer. And I didn't paint the whole thing. This is soft. But then there's a highlight. There's some highlights right here. And then this edge is soft. But overall, I mean, yes, this blue looks crazy, but it kind of works. And if I throw some blue over here to balance that out, it doesn't look as crazy now. Right? You see that?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I love that.
All right.
Yeah.
But that comes with experimentation. Okay, so you do work on your eyes. Try to come up with, say, okay, I want to paint these eyes and I want to work on my edges. Do that. And then do some where you work on your values and edges. And then bring them together with your temperatures and your lights and darks and design. You know, you just got to bring it all together. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, that's gorgeous. That's beautiful. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah.
Cool this down here. I could just keep going and working my way down.
Okay.
Okay. We'll move on.
Yeah, originally I think
Blue.
yeah. Oh yeah, more blue. Yeah. You tie everything together.
That's the wrong thing. We got to go a little. You can make it blue, but you got to go lighter, the right value.
Okay.
All right. There we go. So overall, her skin tone has a coolness to it because there's a cool light source on her, right? But because she's a warm object, those cools have more warmth to it. Okay? All right. There we have the painting. Her eyes look a little, and you know what? Her eyes, you could spend a lot of time on these eyes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, that's beautiful. Does anyone have any questions or?
It's great, Jerry. A lot of fun. Thanks for sharing all of that. I really enjoyed
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great demo. I guess you probably don't have time to talk about being organized and all that.
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about some organization. A lot of things. Even though my studio, I'm not going to show you it. You take the class, I'll show you. It's messy, but as my wife says, you know where everything's at. Okay, that's one way. You know, you keep things organized, but also your palette. When I put my paints out, I organize them the same way every time, right? I go from light to dark, warm to cool. I keep them there that way every time. And then you look at my mixtures. Do you notice my mixtures are going from light to dark this way? Do you see that? That's what's happening here. So that's another way I organize it. If I'm too blotchy, I lose that form. I lose that form in there. But also organizing your reference. If right now in Phoenix, the cactuses have flowers. I've been shooting those like crazy in different lights. And I don't just leave it in my camera. I don't leave it on my phone. I take them off and I start organizing them in files because as I need them, I don't want to have to dig. I want to grab and paint. The fun part about painting is painting, right, guys? It's not sitting there doing the grunt work. I mean, that's another part of organization. And that's actually one of the biggest. And getting your own reference is also one of the biggest things.
Yeah, that's the hardest. Yeah, I think I find references is the hardest.
Yes, but organize on your phone. The iPhone makes it easy for you to put things in files. You got to do that. You know, you got to keep it organized. I actually take everything off my iPhone that I want to paint, put it in files on my computer.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
Yes, just wondering, so you're not encountering any slippery problem when you're
No.
painting?
No, and the reason why is my values. If your values are right, you're not gonna, you might, well, are you using a medium?
No.
Okay, you might get that because maybe you get the value wrong and you keep adding paint to try to get it back. But if I'm very accurate, I'm not gonna have that. Okay.
Okay.
And part of it is using this palette, using a gray palette. And you don't have to use this gray palette. You just have to have a gray swatch and say, my midtones are those values. And if my shadows are darker than that midtone, then I just mix darker than the gray. And if my lights are lighter than this midtone palette, then I just mix lighter. And you become a faster painter for it.
So
Yeah,
basically,
I also use, another thing is I also use a little rougher canvas. And also I use a lot of paint.
Mhm. Mhm.
A lot of people, their problems will be solved by using more paint.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, I guess then it just lays on top instead of like getting scrubbed in or mixed up. Is that?
Yeah. Well, I do that for some finished paintings, like that big native I did. I
Mhm.
did scrub in some things and scrub it in and soften an edge because I'm trying to get a certain stylized look to it,
Mhm. Mhm.
But usually with paintings where I'm trying to get more realistic look,
Mhm.
I put it down and leave it. So let me grab a bigger brush. I'm going to show you something. All right, so this is a bigger brush. If I'm painting this head and I'm being accurate with my mixtures, and I'm going to go with an average light, all I got to do is put it down and leave it. Put it down. See how you don't see that brush stroke? Because it matches the values that are there. I'm not touching it. I put it down and I leave it. And if I have to soften the edges, then I do that. Okay. A lot of people think these very tightly rendered paintings, there are people who do that. They sit there and blend them. Then you take a soft brush and then you blend in between. Let me grab a soft brush. Then you could take a soft brush and start to get a little more realistic and tighter rendered. You sit there and you just touch the edges, just the edges. See how soft that edge is getting? That's nice.
Mhm.
But if you overdo it, you're mixing those together and you're creating gray. You don't want gray, right?
Mhm.
Here I'm adding a little pink, and I'm going to go a little lighter. Boom. And see how soft that edge is? Then I'm going even a little lighter and a little lighter right there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 values that I put down, but they're very close together. And if I have to go a little bit of a different color and a little bit darker, see, I put some brown in there and some ochre. Now I've made it a little different color and value. And now, so it won't be such a hard edge here. I'm going to make a little bit of a lighter one there and a lighter one there. Now that goes away, that edge, but those colors still, they stay there, very fresh. You see the freshness that's there?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
And here's this highlight I'm putting. Let's get this highlight in. I'm going to put it in with some warmth, but see how the edge looks very hard? It's not very hard in the reference, it's soft. So I'm just softening the edge with another value. I didn't blend it. All I did was put another value down. Now I'm going a little bit darker. That's more the painting I like. I mean, there's people who beat the painting surface to death, but those aren't my favorite painters. I don't see those paintings in museums,
Mhm. Mhm.
in the museums I go to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. So what would be your plan for your mentorship group? Like, would you be going over?
Okay,
some
well,
methods and-
in this description for this, we were talking about framing and galleries. Part of it is like how to get into galleries. Sorry, how to get into galleries, right?
Mhm.
You got to really truly evaluate your art and see where you're at, and really be honest with yourself and see that if you choose a certain gallery, are you good enough for it? You got to be honest with yourself. That's where I say you don't fall in love with your work, right? It's got to be when I look at my work, I kind of tell myself, will that go on a wall in a gallery? Right? That's where and sometimes I look at my art and I say, wow, I could see that in a gallery wall. It's like when I walk into my studio and see it, it's like I see it on the wall in a gallery. And it's like, okay, all right, I think I'm close to being done with this. Okay. The painting I'm working on for the gallery. Okay. It's getting that quality that you see in a gallery. But also, how do you talk to the galleries? Like we live in Scottsdale here. Right now, it's coming to the end of the busy season. You don't go in there and ask a gallery, can you look at my artwork? They'll tell you to leave because it's the busy season. You wait for the slow season. And we have a slow season during the summer because it's hot and no one goes in there. They love when artists come in because they got nothing to do. I mean, they're just selling to their online buyers. People aren't coming in.
Yeah.
Things like that. I don't want to give everything away. Sorry.
No,
but,
yeah. So you'll be like in the mentorship group, you'll be talking about like teaching techniques and
teaching techniques, all like you saw today, design, getting your references together, drawing value, edges, color, and design. And then if you're at a certain level, then it's design, drawing value, edges, and color. Okay. It all depends. It all depends on the level you're at, right? Talking about good drawing. If I were doing this for a gallery, there would have been a drawing underneath this. Okay. For some paintings and some things you see on my Instagram, I do just jump in like this. But for some of these finished paintings for galleries where I'm really taking my time, I do a full drawing. And I got different ways of doing that. And I'll mention that in the class. I won't mention that here.
Right.
But also talking about framing, the frame's got to be of quality. You can't just put anything on there, especially if you're entering shows. And that's a good way to start your career, start entering the shows. And that's how you get a gallery to recognize you, is they start to see your paintings. And then they're like, okay, this person has a body of work or, has the quality of work that we want. Now let's see if they have a body of work that they could put in our gallery. And that's another thing we're talking about, building a body of work to show to a gallery, because the gallery doesn't want you to come in with 2 paintings. Oh, that's all I got. Unless you're exceptional, they could sell them right away. They'll do it, but they want to see, 7, 8 paintings. They want you to build up a body of work there that they can show to their clients. But there's a lot of things about that, that we'll talk about.
Great.
And also, it's not, I know I'm the mentor and talk to me, but also if you're going to talk to somebody else, how do you pick somebody else to talk to, about things? And one thing I tell young artists is you can't talk to somebody who's been at this for 40, 50 years because they started at a different time. Talk to those people who've been around, who've only been doing painting professionally for, 4 or 5 years or 10 years. They're going to give you a better idea. But we'll talk about that more.
Great.
I can keep working on this.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially the tear duct. I always have problem with tear duct. I think that's beautiful.
There's no tear duct. All it is value.
Shape.
What's the value of that shape? Okay, because
Right.
mine's a little dark. It gets a little lighter there. Just tell yourself everything's a shape. There's no such thing as a nose. There's no such thing as a cheek. It just has it has a bunch of little shapes that make it. And part of that is paint by numbers, right? Some people are like, oh, paint by numbers. I go, yeah, but that's a hard way to paint. If you had to figure out paint by numbers, you couldn't do it if you're not a seasoned professional.
Yeah. I think the other hard thing is, like Sabrina says, to lay on the paint, like as you wish that, it would be laid on and not get messed up and, smooshed around.
Yeah, you got to lay it down with the right value, the right drawing, the right shape, and then you don't have to worry about things being wrong. Like right now, this eye needs a lot of work, right? Some of these things could come lower. I could get a little lighter value. I'll be honest with you, I should clean my palette off, but you know, as I'm
Mm.
talking to you, it's just fun to throw the paint on there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's limited time, so I mean,
Right, limited time, but
Yeah.
if I get my values right, even though these colors are starting to get gray, you notice they're getting
Mhm.
cold
Yep.
because they're getting mixed together. But if the
Mhm.
value's right, it'll still kind of work.
Okay.
And edges, we're going to talk a lot about it. Edges to me, after, you know, I didn't understand this as I was learning. Edges become just as important as values.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Great. Yeah.
I'll put the screen back on me here so I can say
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Thanks so much. It's a wonderful demo and all your tips and yeah. So looking
We got a
forward.
lot more.
Yeah. I bet. Does anyone has questions or we're good?
Thank you so much for the demo.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. That was great.
Thanks, guys, for coming. That was fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thanks everyone for coming. And if anyone's interested to join the mentorship group, just go to mastrius.com. And yeah, looking forward to working with Jerry and everyone else. So great. Have a good night. And we'll bye for now.
Thanks, Gloria, Mastrius. And remember, guys, there's more to come if you take the class.
Yeah. Okay. That's
All right.
great. Thank you. Good night.
Bye, guys. Have a
Bye.
good night.
Bye.